Welcome back. I'm Brandon, the HBAR Bull, once again joined by Zepzi. We both do some contract work for the HBAR Foundation, but we don't do these weekly updates in any official capacity. We're just coming to you personally to give you the latest in the Hedera ecosystem. Welcome, Zep.
How's it going, Brandon?
It's going pretty good. We have all kinds of stuff to cover this week, but as always, none of this is financial advice. Use it for entertainment or educational purposes only. I also want to highlight something that I have there in the beginning in the disclaimer and disclosure section. Coverage shouldn't necessarily be taken as endorsement. Of course, I try to do some due diligence on these projects, but just by the nature of the way Hedera is, most of these things are startups, right? And we know that most startups don't make it. I think there's going to be a lot of these projects that are successful, but there's going to be some that don't make it as well. We certainly I want to support these projects. We want the community to support these projects, but with the understanding that a lot of times these projects aren't going to make it. And that goes for some of the enterprise solutions that are coming out as well. Even though the enterprises will stick around, the solutions that they might be building might not work out, and there'll be new ones to crop up to take their place. But it's just something that I wanted to highlight. Today, we're going to start off with network analytics because the top story is that Atma.io has launched. Now, it has just happened. We have gotten confirmation that it is Atma.io. We're recording this a little bit before 10 a.m. Eastern, and right now they're churning out over 300 transactions per second. So, Zep, it's finally happened.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. I mean, it's we've been teased. And people's emotions have gone up and down, but just in time for WEF, I think. We've got this back on the mainnet. We've got this real world utility example of what is the biggest single use case on a public DLT to date. We saw it ramp up to thousands of TPS back in 2 months ago or so. We're currently at about 400, 300 on my screen. So maybe it's going to go up even more. Who knows? But even at this rate, it seems like this is still the most transactions going through, real transactions, going through a single use case on DLT. And, finally, we have everyone's belief in Hedera that we've had since the start, that is a network that can facilitate high throughput for real world applications at scale. It is here. This is our golden child, and we can parade it anywhere we like, I think. So yeah, very, very exciting. And hopefully it stays just like this for a very long time.
Yeah, well, that's certainly my expectations. Of course, there might be some bumps in the road, but like you said, for adding value to a use case outside of the crypto world, I'm sure we're doing more transactions right now than all of the other layer one networks in the top 100 combined. It's really impressive what they're doing. But it's not the only thing that I noticed today. Our smart contract transactions are up by 100% over last week, and that has nothing to do with what Atma.io is doing. So really impressive to see. I know people were concerned. There were all kinds of naysayers saying it was never going to come, but we finally have seen it on the network. So that was good to see. And moving down to time to consensus, one of the things that I noticed after the update yesterday is there was some volatility early on, and then it dropped down to between 2 and 3 seconds. So really impressive. That might have been in anticipation for Atma.io. And then once again, right before Atma.io launched, we saw some more volatility. But now after it's launched, it's come back down to under 4 seconds. So really impressive on the time to consensus. It seems like after we entered the new year, the account growth after, of course, what Lithos did with their huge account creation, but it seemed to have plateaued at a little bit higher level. So it's good to see what we're seeing as far as account growth on the Hedera network as well. As far as our fungible token summary, Wrapped HBAR has taken the top spot over Energy Trade Token. We see Sauce in the top 10, USDC, Dovu, HBARX, and so forth. And taking a look at our NFTs, we certainly have Ashfall in there. We have Pixel Drops. I see Zombies in there. And we also have our naming services making an impact as well. So, Zep, do you have any thoughts on what we're seeing come out of the NFT space this week?
Yeah, so I had the pleasure of co-hosting a Twitter Spaces with Orbison, who are quite a big Ethereum project, NFT project in the Ethereum space, of course. And the lady who founded it, Sonia, I met at NFT London. And she's a really, really lovely woman. She's been masses of help connecting us with people. She's been, super supportive of the Hedera community. She has a very, very kind soul, and that reflects the Hedera community. And she's found really, really big crossovers in that sort of, sensitivity and friendliness, I think, with that community. And so I'd like to be hosting more of these with her to really branch out, get our amazing NFT creators, our amazing NFT community, putting them in the spotlight in Ethereum and Cardano and vice versa. So I'm really excited to host more of those. I think might have one coming up on Monday. And alongside that, we've got Dead Pixels, of course, Gen 4 onesies coming out. Keep your eyes peeled. If you're in the Discord, if you talk in the Discord, you get a chance of getting whitelisted for that drop. So Smort, who's the bot in there, he's the overseer of that. He's the overlord of the whitelist. And alongside that, we've got Astronova, who are, of course, another one of our amazing games that are being built. They've got their NFT drop on Saturday, I believe. That's on the Ethereum network because they're originally building that. But you get that NFT, and then it gives you a guarantee of getting the Hedera equivalent NFT when that drops. So they're basically honoring previous partnerships there. It's going to be launched on Ethereum. Hopefully get some Ethereum users over, and then it'll be ported over to Hedera in the future. So yeah, that's a few things to look out for. Rooster Cartel actually had a really, really nice conversation with them in the Orbis cross-chain spaces. They're building a really cool racing game, and also I think a boxing game for their Rooster Cartel, and they're targeting Latin America, I think, which is really cool. So yeah, really exciting to see that in development as an organic community project. Batty Hattie spoke to them, and they've been doing loads of cool stuff in their Discord. They're doing these sort of family drawing projects where they did one with King Solomon and his daughter as well, which is like a really cool, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a really cool something Scribbles, I think it was called, which is really cool. So again, they're NFT for goods. They're a great team. Batty Hattie, him and his daughter, and also King Solomon and his daughter, and everyone else in that Discord. So yeah, lots of great things as always coming out of that community. Last thing, HBAR NFTs was trending for 4 days, so that's really cool, and that's the first time I've seen it for that long, especially. So yeah, just really great to see all around in that ecosystem. And and A.R Rahman, he quote retweeted the tweet with HBAR NFTs, and it got 100,000 views. So hopefully that's more eyes in there over time.
Great to see. And like you said, we're not slowing down in the Hedera NFT space, but we have a lot of other stuff that's going on. Yeah. So Zep, one thing that came out this week that I thought was really interesting was India's Decimal Point. They came out with a grant that they're receiving from the Hashgraph Association. And according to Indian Web 2, India's Decimal Point Analytics receives grant funding to develop tokenization solutions for $100 billion plus traditional asset market. According to the CEO of Decimal Point, asset tokenization is at a fairly nascent stage of development here in India, but is definitely the future as far as the finance market goes. With internet penetration on the rise, the number of Indians investing in digital assets has risen considerably over the last 2 years. With asset tokenization, we can enable many investors to allocate their funds in smaller quantities across multiple asset classes in a safe and secure manner. India is in a growth phase, and the country is making huge investments in everything from road, rail, port, health, renewables, power distribution, EV charging network, tourism, space and geotagging, to massive next-generation data centers. Tokenization of newly built government infrastructure assets will create new asset classes, which are stable in value and offer an immediate market size in excess of $100 billion. Did you catch this one, Zep?
Yeah, I mean, so the Gift City, I mean, also, if we go back, to last year, I think it was, Eftports, who are a governing council member of Hedera, very much thanks to Rob Allen at the HBAR Foundation, who used to be the entrepreneur in residence there, and obviously the seat member for Eftports at the time. They put out this article saying that the smart cities of the future will have to be run on distributed ledger technology, and the only piece of DLT, i.e. distributed ledger technology, that could facilitate this kind of high throughput, high scale, high security use case, which, evidently would have to happen at the layer one. There's not going to be any layer twos that are trusted with a smart city. Like, I'm not going to mention any, but, layer one is where it's going to be. And they said that the only layer one that could facilitate this was Hedera. And we fast forward to now, and we see this, this switch, the Hashgraph Association grant here for the Gift City. The GIFT is the acronym. in India, which is, I believe, going to be one of the smart cities in what is soon to be probably one of the tech capitals of the world. One of the rapidly growing economies at the moment, India, and a huge amount of that is coming from their tech innovation. And so this gift city, this smart city that's being built, it's in production. What I gathered from that sort of press release around the grant was that they were looking to use Hedera for the tokenization of high value assets, including assisting DPA to develop and launch regulatory compliant tokenization solutions for the financial markets in India through the gift city. So this looks like it could be the first active use of a smart city using the Hedera hash graph to facilitate some part of that city. And I mean, when I saw that announcement from FPOS last year, I was thinking, 5, 6, 7, 8 years out. I had no idea we were going to have an announcement this quickly from somewhere like India. And, India just doubling down on the hash graph at the moment. We've got A.R Rahman, of course. We've got our amazing council of Tata Communications. We've got YPro on there. And, again and again, we're seeing more innovation coming out of Hedera in India. And to see this again now is just, that took me completely off guard. And I'm very, very glad it did, because what an exciting piece of news.
Well, it seems like it dovetails so nicely into the tokenization things that we've been talking about the past several weeks. We're talking about the digital commodities exchange that came out, the first traditional exchange that's been built on Hedera. We're talking about Aberdeen coming out and tokenizing their $500 billion fund. Larry Fink of BlackRock coming out and talking about how not only is tokenization the future of financial markets, but tokenization on public networks. So this only seems to be accelerating at this point.
And I mean, so all of these big figures, that are talking about tokenization that you just mentioned, of course, Aberdeen and others amongst that, they're all coming to Hedera because the Hedera token service is best in class as a public ledger to facilitate this use case. It's designed with the sole purpose of maintaining ABFT security with 3 to 5 seconds finality at a ridiculous throughput of, currently throttled at 10,000 transactions a second. And, with the built-in KYC and all this stuff, it is the perfect feature in our ledger to facilitate this. And so Mr. Duri, the CEO, he goes on to say, he talks about how, unlike blockchain, which is, critical to understand here, unlike blockchain, the Hedera network is designed as a fast, secure, lowest cost and energy efficient network, which is powered by the hashgraph consensus, while achieving the highest degree of security possible through its asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance with blazing fast transaction speeds and incredibly low bandwidth consumption. Additionally, its HTS, Hedera Token Service, has built-in desirable features such as digital KYC/AML verification and other features, making it most well suited for providing institutional grade tokenized financial products. I mean, that says it all. Hedera is best in class for facilitating the tokenization of assets for institutions. And we've known that from the start, and we're seeing it more and more, weekly, which is great.
Yeah, this is certainly a space that I see us covering a lot going into this next year. So we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to talk about some of our community detectives. They do some amazing work, and I just wanted to highlight a couple that I saw over the past week. So the first one was posted by Sandy, and he's a longtime community member. He posted it in Reddit. He said that Elf Cosmetics started using Hedera Token Service to mint NFTs for loyalty and engagement. And this was also noted on Metrica. You could see it fairly easily. I did double check, and an official source said Elf is running a customer loyalty program for some of their select customers, and it seems like they're really happy with the results. So that was the first one. And the second one is proving a little bit prophetic. It was from Tom Johnson. He posted this both on Twitter and on Reddit. He greeted the Hedera family and said, account 0.0.1029172 is the account that funded the Atma run in December. It had 75,000 HBAR originally. It also funded a small handful of accounts, including 0.0.1459479 today, and he was talking about this a couple days ago. That account was funded by 2.3 million HBAR, and he asked Atma soon. It's amazing what this community can come up with just by digging through what's going on the network. So, Zep, you can't say that you're not impressed with what this community can dig up.
I mean, this is, it's fantastic. He got that early. Another detective resident, I call him Danny Holmes, is at Danny Eid on Twitter, and no, he I honestly don't know how he does it. Like, he somehow gets this news like 2 months before anyone. I don't even know what he searches into the internet. I honestly have no idea. It's like I try my hardest to find this information. I reckon he uses like AI or something crazy to get these like crazy search prompts in, and he just somehow uncovers everything for anyone else. So if you want the news before Hedera, the foundation, anyone knows it, follow Danny Eid.
No question about that. Danny is certainly an awesome community member, and he puts out tons of great information, so definitely follow him on Twitter. All right, Zep, so the next thing we wanted to get into is I know there's a lot of excitement around Davos, and we had a Twitter space this past week that was focused exclusively on what's going on in Davos, and one of the guests we had was Christian Hasker, and he had some really good insights, and I wanted to take a couple of the highlights from that and let the audience listen in. Christian, to kick this thing off, I think we should probably just explain what the World Economic Forum event at Davos is. Do you mind just kind of run us through that first?
Sure, absolutely. You can think of Davos as two sort of separate but related events. There is the official World Economic Forum event that takes place in the Congress Center in Davos. Davos is this small Swiss ski resort, beautiful place. And for 1 week of the year, it basically gets closed down, and it is the world's, top business leaders, policymakers, heads of state. Everyone descends on this small town, and the World Economic Forum runs a series of seminars and thought leadership. And then also there is Davos, there is a promenade in Davos, which is the main street, and companies, large multinationals to organizations like Hedera, take over all of the venues on the promenade and basically turn them into their own dedicated spaces. And we are fortunate enough to have one of those spaces. We're also participating in the World Economic Forum programming. Brett McDowell, who is the chair of Hedera, is participating in a panel. And Hedera is, as you know, we're in the Global Innovator Program, but we're also in a relatively new program called the Unicorn Program, which is aimed at startups that have a valuation higher than $1 billion. And we're in that program. So we have membership into the WEF for that as well. Every year since the inception of Hedera in 2018, in March 2018, I first was introduced to folks that planned Davos back in late 2017. And every year we've sort of evaluated, is this the year that we should invest in Davos? In 2022, we sent a very small contingent to Davos. So Brett, Wes Geisenberger, and Kamal Yousefi. So Wes Geisenberger is from the HBAR Foundation, and Kamal Yousefi is from the Hashgraph Association. We sponsored a cocktail reception, and they went over there and they networked. That was the smallest investment that we could make in Davos to just test the waters. The three of them came back from Davos and we debriefed, and the consensus was that for a network like Hedera that is very focused on both the enterprise and also governments wanting to build on Hedera and also wanting to influence the regulatory landscape around distributed ledger technology, Davos is the place to do that. So, yeah, we have committed some real budget to have this dedicated space. As you know, maybe you've seen from the photo I posted on Twitter, we've done it really high end. The inside is gorgeous as well. I can't wait to show you all when I get there. I'll do some videoing for you and get your eyes on this beautiful space. And we've got tons of programming, and the whole goal is to drive awareness of Hedera within those three kind of target personas of enterprise. The CEOs of big businesses are there. That's who we want to get in front of. Policymakers and leaders of different countries and CBDCs and digital transformation and things like that. So we are strategically leveraging our council members who are building on Hedera. So we have demo stations. Avery Dennison is showing off Atma.io. They have a demo about a track and trace of a scarf and being able to offset the carbon footprint of that. So it's like one of those really high-end Hermes scarves, and that's an interactive demo. They're sending a couple of people to help demo that product. ServiceNow is demoing their connected human product, which is all about sort of revolutionizing the way that we work, and that leverages Hedera. Standard Bank is demoing green bond initiatives, and then DLA Piper is demoing Toko. For the type of audience that is there, the actual blockchain DLT technology is way too in the weeds. You have to lead with a high-level message of sustainability. And because of the type of audience that's there, we want our council members to tell the story to their peers, right? So high-level executives talking to high-level executives and actually demoing how a network like Hedera can revolutionize business.
All right, Zep, considering the stuff that's coming out of Atma.io and we have that huge ramp up and what we're going to see coming out of Davos, I think this is almost an opportunity for Hedera to relaunch itself and really show what it's capable of. What were your thoughts on that Twitter space on Tuesday?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Again, it's just, I think what's really excites me about this is because, for so long we've always said, we've got this amazing council, but why aren't they being that public in their support? And clearly what they've been waiting for is to have something of substance for them to report on. It makes sense. DLT is a nascent industry. They're not just going to go all in on, the news saying we're a part of this revolution before they've even got anything to declare it. They were there by name, they run a node, they contribute to government. That's fantastic. It's something to be very proud of. But now they have their demos, they have some live applications. They can see really what the other council members are doing. They can see, how robust the Hedera network is. They saw it being tested on scale by Atma.io, a couple months ago, whenever it was. The feedback on that was that it was perfect. It was so much even better than they imagined. So we even got the new Hedera board members in recently who have big names behind them, previous work. So the real substance is coming from this technology, or it's starting to come to the top. And with that, we're seeing our council members take more of an active role. So going back to what I initially said is that we are now seeing them all together, not all of them, but a substantial amount of them, University College London, DLA Piper, ServiceNow, Avery Dennison, all of them at Davos together, Standard Bank, of course, how could I forget, IBM, doing these demos all together at Davos, the place to be in terms of, world leaders and world technology and world thought leadership. And they're all there at the Hedera house, doubling down on Hedera. And I think, it's just that to me is the most positive indicator of what to come, that they feel confident enough to be at Davos, where the whole world is watching them, when the biggest names in the world are looking at them, and then for them to be there with Hedera House, with their names all over in the branding, doing their demos with Politico, with them live streaming it, with the CEO of Uber. This to me is credibility. This to me is stability, and this to me is the future of DLT with Hedera. So it's just so exciting, and I'm really excited to hear what comes out of Davos.
Yeah, there's so much to be excited about. That said, on here we want to cover everything that's going on in the space. And I know earlier this week we had a few issues, and it had to do with the gRPC relay. It didn't necessarily have to do with the network itself. It had to do with some infrastructure that's built around it. But I got a hold of Greg Scullard. He's a longtime developer advocate with Swirlds Lab and previously with Hedera. And he wanted to just explain exactly what was going on and some of the things that they're working on to make sure that we don't have these kind of issues with our web applications going forward. So listen in real quick. Greg, can you give us a quick explanation on what happened with the gRPC relay earlier this week that affected most Hedera web applications?
Yes, for sure. So gRPC is technology that Hedera uses to enable its API, the way in which applications can interact with consensus nodes on the network. And we chose gRPC over other technologies because of the much greater compression and throughput that we can achieve with gRPC over other technologies like JSON RPC, which are commonly used throughout the industry. So while this works really, really well with desktop applications and so on, there is a limitation in browsers whereby JavaScript, which is a language used to build most browser applications, cannot talk gRPC natively. It can talk a dumbed down version, if you want, that we call gRPC Web. So to try and put things in perspective, when you talk to a consensus node, you speak English, and web browsers are trying to speak Chinese. So the consensus nodes will not understand what those browsers are trying to tell them. So we need this proxy to sit between the browser and the consensus node, which is known as the gRPC Web proxy, which is nothing more than a translator. It kind of understands Chinese or gRPC Web and then speaks English or gRPC to the consensus node, and vice versa, and all is well. We discovered this, a while ago when web applications started to get deployed, and the first one truly was my HBAR wallet. So they set up a proxy out of their own kind hearts, which, unbeknownst to most, has been used by everyone as a gateway from web applications to consensus nodes. And it's something that we've been aware of for a while. We're working on deploying more proxies, and we're working with council members to co-locate gRPC web proxies with the consensus nodes. We need one-to-one. There needs to be one proxy for each node. It can't be one proxy for all nodes. And there are also some projects that have contacted us in the past with whom we've shared the configuration. So they're running their own proxies in order to alleviate the issue of having just one. The proxy itself is working. It's had ups and downs. There are times when it went down, and the team at my HBAR wallet sort of kicked it back into life. But what's happened last week is that the one node this proxy is talking to disappeared. It fell off the network. As a consequence, any traffic that was sent to the proxy could not speak to a consensus node. And we got stuck. So a few weeks ago, Swirlds Labs deployed an alternative proxy. The SDK has been updated to make use of it, but until the new version of the SDK permeates through, the family of applications and web applications that are deployed, those will not benefit from it. And as I said, our DevOps team is working hard with the council members to deploy, 27 of them, if not more.
Okay, so can we dig into that a little bit? So you're talking about these additional redundancies. How's that going to make the whole system more robust?
So make it more robust in the sense that just as is the case now with consensus nodes, you can pick, or the SDK will do this for you. You pick one out of 27 nodes at random. And if one of the nodes is temporarily unavailable, the SDK will do its best to communicate with another node in a manner that's transparent to end users. So the SDK is trying its level best to connect to a node on the network, even if there are temporarily nodes that are unavailable. So by the same token, having more proxies means that the SDK will be able to pick one out of 27 proxies. And if that communication happens to fail, it will pick another one. So we get more redundancy, more decentralization as well, because if my HBAR wallet wanted to stop access to web applications, they could turn off the proxy.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting to see. It's not just about the network and the robustness of the network itself. It also has to do with all the infrastructure built around it. And that's the whole point of the process we go through on this path to decentralization.
Indeed, yeah. So I just wanted to add that we have open sourced the repository in GitHub, which contains the configurations for the proxies. So in the interest of decentralization, any dApp developer today can deploy its own and set up its own infrastructure so that they're isolated from others. And even, a dApp could make use of a proxy you run on your desktop. So if you want to run your own proxy, you can do that. Of course, the dApp has to support that capability, but the configurations are now open source. Anyone can get them from GitHub.
Sounds perfect. Greg, we really appreciate you coming on today and giving us the explanation.
My pleasure. Thank you, Brandon.
All right, Zeb, that's what this path to decentralization looks like. It's not just the path to decentralization for the Hedera network itself, but all the infrastructure that's built around it and making that infrastructure more robust. So it was good to hear from Greg this past week to clarify some of those things. And of course, we'll cover that kind of stuff in the future if there's any other issues that pop up. And we know there's going to be issues, but as long as we're getting stronger and more robust, that's the right direction to move in. The other thing that I wanted to cover is in a little bit of a different direction. It has to do with Karate Combat, and we know that they're building on top of Hedera, but they got some really good media coverage. So I wanted to reach out to the founder of Karate Combat, Rob, to give us some more information. Rob, thanks for coming. First off, can you tell us about the story put out by GiveMeSport.com ranking the top MMA promotions outside the UFC?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. They ranked us number one. I think at the end of the day, we're doing something different from everybody else. The fans love it, and the sport's growing extremely quickly. So, as you know, we're the only major league out there where there's no gated content, no pay-per-view. Anyone can watch our fights. You can watch them on TV, same time you can watch them online. We think that that's the best for our consumer. That's really allowed everyone to see our product, everything from the virtual background to our rule set that is very fast-paced, has really resonated. And when we first started, I think you saw mostly the hardcore karate fans that were really following us. Now, given the excitement, and tell you the truth, it's funny because it's outside the UFC. When we first started live, people said, hey, this reminds me of the original UFC. When the guys came out in the old days, when you had different styles fighting, you didn't know who was going to win. It was really exciting. So with our rule set, we're sort of at that stage. Everyone can watch it for free online, and I think that's really contributed to our growth and the community accepting us and becoming excited about what we're doing.
Well, I've been an MMA fan for a really long time, and I absolutely love the fights, the fast pace, the action, the knockouts, really impressive across the board. So I think you're doing something right. So can you give us any updates regarding your Karate Token airdrop and the Hedera-enabled app?
Yep, so we haven't announced the exact date yet. It'll be out in the next couple of months. It's going to happen at the beginning of this year. We've had amazing feedback from the requests. I think we're up to over 250,000 signups already within a week of us announcing the airdrop. We're really, really excited about it, and we're going to have the date and location should be announced in the next couple of weeks. On our end, all the development is done. We have a really exciting app. It's simple. I think it's a great example of how you can use Web3 to solve a traditional problem in a traditional business and provide consumers utility using Web3 tools. So we have a very simple app. When a fight comes up, the fans can log in, pick their favorite fighters. As you know how it works. If your fighter wins, you earn more tokens. And we think we have a really cool way to do that. And we're really excited to see how it resonates with the community. But yeah, it should be happening in the next couple of months.
Yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to it. I know the fans of the fights are a similar demographic to what we see in crypto a lot of the time. So I'm looking forward to the Karate Token hitting our DeFi platforms and some of the centralized platforms as well. So good luck with it. We're looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you.
So it's good to see some of our businesses operating and being successful outside of what they're doing in the Hedera ecosystem. And Karate Combat is a great example of that. They're going to continue to be successful. And once they bring on their app and they do their token drop, I think they're going to be that much more successful. So last week, we covered something with Ant Middleton. We had him on for a Twitter space, and he explained what he was doing with Koala Hash Club. But I didn't get a chance to actually talk to the team very much about what they're building and what they're doing and how they're working with Ant and some of their initiatives going forward. So listen in real quick. Here's an interview I did with their team. So, Buck, we're going to start with you on this one. How exactly did Koala Hash Club start?
Yeah. So how Koala Club started was it was around October, I want to say September time, where Cap and I wanted to create an NFT project, and a lot of that came from just wanting to make an impact because it's very difficult when you're just one person to make a footprint. So that's where the inspiration started from, and so then we had to go, okay, where do we go from here? And so we decided to do Koalas because of the 2019 wildfires. Before I wasn't even in crypto in 2019, that were, animal lovers, environmentalists, all three of us. It was something that we wanted to do, and koalas were affected very, poorly from it. And so that's where the Koala Hash Club came about. Just wanted to make a difference in the world, to showcase, NFTs are more than just simple profile pictures, and they can, be spread to create positive messages like we're doing, now.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys are doing some amazing stuff. Congratulations on the partnership with Ant Middleton. He seems like an amazing guy, and he seems really engaged. So, Cap, how did the partnership with Ant Middleton come about?
Yeah, so we had his brother actually into our community. He is in our exclusive VIP club, and he was really interested in the community. We kept talking to him, and then all of a sudden he kind of just threw it on us that his brother was Ant Middleton. And then we ended up starting talking to Ant and kind of throwing some conversations around. We really vibed really well. And we were like, hey, let's kind of share each other's communities. He wants to jump into like NFTs, Web3, and we love his positivity and creativity, and we just kind of want to collab on that. It seemed like it ended up really, really well. And now we're just kind of figuring out things about going forward with our partnership in the Koala Sanctuary and such.
Yeah, it seems like there's going to be some really good things that come out of it. Do either you other guys have anything you want to say about Ant?
Yeah. I just had something on that real quick. Like Kat mentioned, it's such a natural connection and feel. It's just a bond, and there's no, we're not paying him, he's not paying us. It's just he believes in what we're doing in our mission, because a lot of projects say they're going to donate and they don't, and he believes in us, and that's just something that helps motivate us and inspire us.
Yeah, well, good luck with that partnership. Tyler, what are some things we can look forward to from Koala Hash Club?
Yeah, I think what we touched on earlier, obviously the partnership coming up with the actual sanctuary. So we're kind of finalizing some of the details with Ant, and he's really helping to facilitate the partnership. And through his connections out in Australia, obviously his very big personality and everyone that he knows down there has really led us to forward this relationship a lot quicker. So we're really looking forward to getting that established and going down there probably sometime late Q1 or early Q2 to actually go down to the sanctuary, get to meet the people behind it, and really help onboard them. And I think that's one of the missions that we have as well for our project, is to onboard as many people to Web3, educate them about crypto, and educate them about the Hedera Hashgraph network. So we're really looking forward to helping them get their wallet set up and really opening up a new avenue of donation streams that can be coming in. So between bringing in our community of over 10,000 members, plus obviously all the Hbarbarians and the Hedera community in general, they're really looking forward to having a possibility of not only receiving donations from us from our royalty sales and secondary and from our mints, but also having the ability just people to send 100% donations straight to their Blade wallet and be able to, like I said, start funding the sanctuary in a new and innovative way that they probably weren't capable of doing beforehand, before they start getting into Web3 and into crypto.
Yeah, you guys are really taking NFTs to the next level. I love that you're doing it on the Hedera network, and I'm looking forward to what you have coming out. So good luck.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. Really appreciate it.
It was great to hear, have Ant double down on Hedera in the spaces last 2 weeks ago. And I think, what I find the most positive about this collaboration is it's a real example of NFT technology for good, for social good. i.e. Koala Hash Club supporting koala sanctuaries in Australia. And, this leads into, some of the refi announcements that we've already had as well with, Aniseed with Perini Foundation, where you have these NFT projects that are being used for conservation areas, for funding conservation areas, for funding, environmental projects. And so I see this collaboration between Ant and Koala Hash Club as in that same group of NFT utility for social good. And we're only going to see more of this, I think. I believe we're front running the refi, i.e. regenerative finance narrative. I think it's going to be a very big one because, DLT really, really can change the sustainability markets, as we're seeing with the Hedera Guardian, as we're seeing with other networks like CeeLo and, the other refi networks. And I don't even believe the Hedera Guardian is the best in class of the public DLTs to facilitate this, regenerative finance. And so to see that we're having these more and more NFT use cases also within that spectrum, I think it's really cool to see. And to see that Ant Middleton, of course, has also seen that promise. And, to hear the Koala Hash Club team, they're a great team. And I'm very excited to learn more about the Sentries as the news comes out.
Yeah, and speaking of celebrities like Ant Middleton, we also had some more information come out about A.R Rahman this week. Do you have any information on that?
Yeah, I mean, so this, I think this is actually one of the announcements I'm the most excited about. In terms of sheer reach that A.R Rahman has, he's got, I think it's over 47 million combined following across social media. And so, we saw him put out this tweet and he got 4,000 likes. He got over, 300,000 views or whatever it was. It got picked up by India Today. It got picked up by Cointelegraph. And all of this, I might add, is organic media traction. This is a superstar that tweeted us out and got us some of the biggest news companies in the world. That wasn't pre-pitched. That was purely the power of A.R Rahman with his outreach, with everyone who pays attention to him every day. I was looking on Twitter and, it went viral. It was his birthday. A.R Rahman was trending. We had 70 different media outlets, all small Indian ones to medium ones, and then all the way up to India Today, which has 6.2 million followers. And then A.R Rahman again yesterday quote tweeted our tweet, the foundation's tweet of India Today's coverage. A.R Rahman quote tweeted that, and then the post got 100,000 views, over 100,000 views. And when you compare that to the norm, so the 2 days before that, we posted the Cointelegraph PR that got 15k views. The power of that man, A.R Rahman, he's a global phenomenon, especially in India. And so he has so much power to really bring people into our network. And, Indian culture, music is embedded to it at the very base layer. So much so that the biggest YouTube channel in the world is an Indian music channel. And so A.R Rahman's platform, is combining the Hedera token service for HBAR NFTs that we've seen trending. I think he's going to have exclusive NFTs on the platform, but I believe it's also being used for some kind of music streaming facilitation. I don't know the ins and outs of it so far. I'm taking that from the India Today article. But if he can make a go-to platform for small, medium, large Indian musicians under the wing of A.R Rahman, one of the biggest global, one of the biggest superstars in the world, but also in India especially. If he can leverage his name, leverage his platform to create a NFT music platform that completely democratizes the game, that can give these Indian artists more money, can give them more footing in the world of music, I think it could be massive. So I'm just, I'm so excited to see where that goes. I think, we said again at the start of this, India, our relationship with India and Hedera loves India. The Hbarbarians love India. We've got an amazing Indian community. We've also got the Lumus Labs accelerator that's ongoing that I'm sure we'll hear more about soon, which is based in India. It's a project accelerator out there. So I'm super bullish on the future of the relationship between India and Hedera, and A.R Rahman is really sealing the deal for me. So very excited, very excited.
Well, this really highlights a big difference between the .com bubble and everything that happened in the 90s, that whole revolution, and what we see with crypto. It's Hedera and the crypto world can tap into the entire world. It's an entire market. It's not just Western Europe and the United States like it was back in the 90s. We can tap into all these other countries as well, and India is going to be a huge part of that. And of course, A.R Rahman is leveraging the Hedera token service, and another one of our verticals that's really leveraging Hedera tokens is in gaming. We see it in Earthlings, and we certainly see it with Lithos, and they've really hit it pretty hard this past few weeks. Do you have any thoughts on what's coming out of Lithos?
Yeah, so I mean, they are the word AAA in Web3 in reference to gaming, I think, is very distorted. I think it isn't used correctly. I think it's a bit of a buzzword at the moment. We're at this moment in time whereby last year's Web3 games underdelivered. They were subpar. They rode the hype momentum, but they weren't playable, and gamers didn't latch onto them in Web2. So to refuel as a part of the new narrative, people are using the term AAA, which traditionally means that there's a powerhouse behind the game, i.e. big names, i.e. big studios, big funding. It's a golden trifecta of those three things. And in terms of, there might be some other projects that genuinely have that caliber in Web3, but I'd say that it's 1% of the people that actually use the term AAA actually have the qualifications to. And one of those companies just so happens to be Lithos. Lithos, Michael Mbauer set up Lithos, which is a gaming and entertainment studio. Last of Us, which, as we spoke about last week, has just come out, I believe, on HBO as a massive series. Uncharted, which had the blockbuster. Again, we can't remember the actor's name, so I'm not gonna do that one again. And also the Days Gone. So, those are three massive games, two of which have become blockbuster series or films, and a third one, which maybe it will in the future, who knows. So they've really got the caliber of the history behind them. They also did like 30 years at PlayStation between them. This is John Garvin and Michael. And they've got the funding of the HBAR Foundation, and I think some other investors, I'm not entirely sure. So they, as the AAA term is used, they have all the rights to use it. And so other people clearly have noticed that. They've got other partners. They've got these amazing, amazing comic book artists that are coming on. And so we've been teased these comic book artists, and we've also seen the amount of accounts generated last week is over 140,000. But we've also seen this token, the Lithos token, going through Mexico. So what I understand is, from sort of putting the breadcrumbs together, is that what is being released might be these comic books or whatever it might be, may be part of a tokenized series. So I think we've got to keep our eye out for that. And, the amount of accounts that we generated for that are a very strong indicator, I think, of something that's about to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen, but they're obviously warming up their gears.
Yeah, Zep, there's no question that Lithos is our flagship game, but we have a really rich gaming ecosystem, whether, it's Earthlings, whether it's Dragons, whether it's Astronova, Cosmium, and I actually caught up with the co-founder of Astronova to give some insight into exactly what they're building. So, DG, what kind of game is Astronova?
So what we build in Astronova it's a meta RPG. It's modeled after popular MMO series like Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft, where there's a rich and story-driven storyline over there. So our game has a deep interactive storytelling element attached to it. The first season of the game, it starts off as an ARPG or an action RPG, and then it moves into the multiplayer modes in the third or fourth seasons. So this is the same approach which is followed by even traditional large MMO games like Final Fantasy and such. So it's a long-term project, and it's 2 to 7 years in the making. We expect our game to be released by the end of 2024.
Okay, I gotcha. So your NFTs, the Deviants, they can be minted on both Hedera and Ethereum. Can you explain this a bit?
Definitely. So before we moved and shifted to Hedera and we got to know about it, we were originally on Ethereum, and our NFTs, the Deviants, they were specifically on the ETH chain because that was the one with the biggest liquidity. We wanted to make sure that our collection succeeded. And at the same time, when we were introduced to Hedera, we were pretty sure that this was a choice that we're never going to be going back. But at the same time, we made a lot of commitments, collaboration, partnerships with a lot of ETH projects, which we want to honor that. And that's the reason why we use this opportunity of shifting to Hedera as more of not just a migration. It's going to be also a migration of the user base. So bringing in the liquidity from ETH to Hedera is also one of our agendas when we shifted to Hedera and plan to build out our MMORPG on Hedera network. Part of that process, sorry to cut you off, Brandon, is so the deviants, even though they're minted on ETH, this actually evolves into a Hedera NFT. So there's an evolution process where our users get a free mint crystals where they evolve into these Hedera compatible NFTs. And that's basically opens up to the in-game companion character. So these deviants are basically companion characters, and the evolved deviants will be the game ready in-game asset. And so at the end, our users, they have two collections: one, the OG deviants on ETH; second, the evolved deviants, which is the Hedera asset, game asset. And this entire process goes through a free mint process where they migrate from the ETH to Hedera. So they have, in the end, two collections on two chains.
Sure. Yeah, but we don't believe necessarily in a one-chain world. We know it's going to be a multi-chain world. They have different advantages. Right. You mentioned liquidity on ETH. That's certainly understandable. So you kind of touched on this a little bit, but are the deviants playable characters in the game?
So the deviants, they are basically companion characters to the main game character in the game. You have a deviant, it unlocks certain missions, certain quests that you won't be able to unlock otherwise. We're not gating our community in this process. What happens is the users who have these deviants, they get to access and unlock the mysteries of Astronova. Astronova is a huge game with a lot of mysteries and a lot of things going on. And deviants are one of the key elements to unlocking that. Apart from that, they're companion characters. They add special power-ups to the character, and so that's pretty much what the deviants does. Even though they aren't playable, but they accompany the main game player everywhere, and that is a crucial and vital role which the deviant play in the ecosystem.
All right, so why did you choose? You already talked about Ethereum a little bit, but why did you choose Ethereum and, more importantly, Hedera?
Okay, so Ethereum, as we're aware, it has the largest community. It has the biggest liquidity for a community. We wanted to make sure that we built something. It's just not just going to be out there for a few months or something. This is a project which we plan to make it like a legacy, a game like League of Legends, which is going to be there. People are going to play a game like Dota. People are going to play for years. That's the kind of game that we're making. And initially, when we did that, we were in the era of Hedera, and we wanted to make sure that it was on the chain with the most people. There's a lot of NFT partners, collabs. We got those, as I mentioned before. But then once we got introduced to Hedera, and then we figured out that this was the future, because it had all the things which a game really needs. And a couple of things which game requires is the speed, the stability, the reliability of the network. Hedera has all of these. And the security, the carbon negative factor, these are like, the cherry on top. And even though it's undervalued and comparatively smaller right now, the community and stuff, Hedera is going to be the future, and that is the reason why we opted for it. Because when you're building a game, things like I mentioned, the scalability, the reliability, the security, the speed, these are the things which matters. Since this was a chain, this was a network which provided that, there was not much of a question for it. And we also had our advisor, Mr. Sai Prasad. He's also part of Hedera, and he introduced us to the foundation, the association. So we got a lot of support from them as well. So all the more reason for us to, always continue building on Hedera, and there's no looking back now.
Well, that's great to hear. So you have a Mint Pass event on January 14th. What are the benefits to participating in that?
So the Mint Pass event, it starts on 14th, 4 p.m. UTC. If you have a Mint Pass, so it's kind of like a pre-sale of the Deviants, basically. But it's not just a pre-sale. So if you join in now, you get the Deviants at a discount. That's the first thing. You get a discount, you get extra benefits as well. So we have an airdrop campaign going on. And if you're one of those whitelisted users, you basically get, not only are you buying the deviants for cheaper at a discount, you're also getting it with additional perks like, airdrop rewards and stuff based on the number of mint passes you're buying. If you're buying one, you get 3,000 Revive token, which is our native in-game currency, which will be listed toward Q1 or Q2 this year. And if you buy three, you get 20,000 Revive tokens. So this is a method of incentivizing our users who are pre-buying our deviants by buying a mint pass. And it's a 4-day event. It's open for only 96 hours. And then we'll have the deviants launch, which will be announced right after this event, the exact date. There is a significant price change. So that one will be for 0.1. This is for 0.06 and 0.08 ETH. So if you compare from the final Deviant launch, there is a 20 to 40% reduction in the Deviant price. So that's the main benefit here.
So, and that's this Saturday. DG, thank you so much for swinging by, and good luck with your game.
Thanks, Brandon, for giving me an opportunity to speak with our community.
And Zep, as mentioned, that token drop is going to be this weekend. And with that, we'll go ahead and move into DeFi. Due to pretty strong crypto markets, Saucer Swap has over $21 million total value locked. The farming rewards on some of their popular pairs, we have HBAR USDC at 52%, HBAR Sauce at 44%, and HBAR X is just under 18%. And moving on to the LP rewards, of course, that's on top of the farming rewards, though there is the potential for impermanent loss. We have HBAR X at about 0.5%, Sauce HBAR at 1.7%, and USDC HBAR is holding up really well at about 7%. HeliSwap's total value locked has gone up a bit as well, and is sitting at just under $6 million total value locked. As far as some of their farming rewards, their own trading pairs with USDC and HBAR have come under 50%. HBAR USDC is at 46%, so that's come down a fair amount over the past week. And HBAR X is down under 13%. We don't have any big updates when it comes to Stater. They are still giving an extra 60,000 HBAR per epoch per day on top of native staking rewards. And we'll go ahead and get into the crypto and HBAR market. Things have looked really good this week, and that's for a couple reasons. Risk assets in general enjoyed a tailwind because inflation came out a little bit softer than expected at 6.5% over the last year, and actually decreased for December. And in crypto-specific news, according to the new management at FTX, they've recovered $5 billion worth of liquid assets, which is a lot more than they were looking at a few weeks ago. I think they were saying they only could find about $1 billion. And the last I heard, there was about $10 billion of missing funds. So $5 billion is a pretty good chunk of that. This and some other factors have allowed Bitcoin to go up almost 15% over the past 7 days, and it is up over 2% over the past 24 hours. HBAR has outperformed fairly well over the past 7 days, being up 25% over the last week and a little over 1% over the past day. And as mentioned, Bitcoin is still rising, and that often pulls away liquidity from altcoins. So seeing HBAR hold up is certainly good. And now with Atma.io putting so many transactions on the network and the revenue that could potentially bring in the long term, allowing Hedera to be more sustainable, could really cause a narrative shift for Hedera and the HBAR. At the time of recording, HBAR is sitting at about 4.9 cents. If we do drop off, I would expect some support around 4.4 cents, and if we continue to go up, 5.1 cents might offer some resistance. Overall, I really like how this market's looking. So Zeb, that's pretty much all we have for the week. I know there was a lot to cover this week. Do you have any thoughts to pass on to the community?
I mean, the year of Davos, the year of the governing council coming out to support us publicly at the biggest event in the world in terms of thought leadership, combined with the step function finally coming around. I just got a screenshot of 900 TPS during this call. We've got India double downing at the start of this week with the Hashgraph Association, the first smart city, hopefully introducing tokenization there. We've got A.R Rahman doubling down with his Katra platform to his 47 million in total audience. We've seen, Ant Middleton come out. We've seen the TVL go up. So the HBAR price starting to move again, non-financial advice. And yeah, just everything this week has been exceptional. And you build that on last week where we had 150,000 accounts generated. 2023 could not have gone to a better start so far. Touch wood, not going to jinx it. Very excited. And I think it's going to be a good year for us all.
like I said before, I think the combination of Davos, the step function, everything else that's going on, this is pretty much like the relaunch of Hedera, showing the world what it's actually capable of. We have a lot of stuff coming up next week. One of the things that I definitely want to highlight is we're going to be doing a gaming Twitter space at 6 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. We're going to have Lithos in there, Astronova, Cosmium, Earthlings. Everybody's going to be in there. So if you have any questions for those guys, make sure you check it in. That's all we have. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next week.